Ever find yourself watching a science fiction movie and one of the characters whips out an elaborately sinister device and then you say, "I'd like to have one of those"? Surprisingly, you're not the only one thinking about that. In fact, some people are building them. Robots, megabombs, or spaceships, these are 6 famous sci-fi weapons that they're actually building. Number 6, the Advanced Tactical Laser, ATL. The Death Ray, or Death Beam, was an electromagnetic weapon theorized for the first time around the 1920s and 1930s, which has fueled science fiction stories such as the well-known saga Star Wars. While based in fiction, research into energy-based weapons has contributed to build up real-life weapons designed as defensive measures to protect our men and women. We're talking about the Advanced Tactical Laser, ATM, a weapon fitted to an aircraft like a C-130 transport plane, whose 100-kilowatt class chemical laser will be able to melt a hole through a tank. This project was possible thanks to the collaboration between the Special Operations Command and the Boeing Company, which started work together in 2002 and doing a few interesting things with laser technology on a smaller scale. Boeing announced that on December 4, 2007, the installation of the laser on the C-130H Hercules was completed in preparation for further testing and a demonstration in 2008. The ATL is intended to strike up to 100 targets in rapid succession from 10,000 feet up 5 miles away. And as an important data, the beam is completely silent and invisible. There has been some fear that an airborne laser system could be used to attack targets which would usually be considered off-limits, since no such weapon has ever been observed before. In fact, according to a report written in 2008 by the Air Force Scientific Advisory Board, which stated that the Advanced Tactical Laser had no operational utility, to sum up, it needed further development. On June 2009, the ATL was successfully finished and ready to be fired in flight for the first time. In August of that year, Boeing and the U.S. Air Force defeated a ground target from the air. Unfortunately, the Advanced Tactical Laser was discontinued after such a successful testing. Number 5, railguns. Until not long ago, human beings made wars with swords, but in a very short time, technological development has allowed the creation of weapons like the one we are going to see now. Railguns are considered to be the U.S. military's most powerful cannons. They are devices that use electrical power instead of chemical power to propel projectiles over 100 miles at hypersonic speeds. The high velocity of the projectile will destroy land, sea, and air targets. They contain no explosives, just the kinetic energy imparted by the projectile, traveling 7 or so times the speed of sound, can rip through steel or concrete, destroying anything in its path. So yes, finally, a gun that isn't dangerous for the environment, although it continues to be a weapon. The greatest advantage of military railguns over traditional explosive weapons is the safety aspect, as no internal propellant is required to fire the projectile and no explosive charge like gunpowder is stored. A major risk is thereby eliminated. In addition, its cost is really low. Railguns have been around a long time in sci-fi TV shows and movies, such as in the 2009 movie Transformers 2K, where a naval vessel used a railgun to shoot a transformer off an Egyptian pyramid. Nowadays, railguns are being evaluated by the U.S. Navy to supplement more conventional naval artillery pieces. But they also have some complications. The first one is that the weapon takes an enormous amount of power to fire, and that it literally tears itself apart with use. The railgun has already been in development and testing for over a decade, with a total cost exceeding $500 million. In its current form, this weapon not only requires too much power to be used, but the other problem is, what ships are able to generate the 125 megawatts of power they need to work? Although they have already mounted several of these guns on test naval vessels, they won't be completely operational until the end of 2020. By this time, we hope the Navy has no reason to use them. Number 4, the Irobot Warrior. Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. These are the 3 main directives that cyborg police officer RoboCop had to follow in order to preserve the safety of citizens. But the Irobot Warrior overcomes fiction. The company Irobot, yes, the Roomba guys, teamed up with Australian weapons company Metal Storm to create Warrior. Irobot would provide the robot part, and Metal Storm would provide the Firestorm weapons system and revolutionary guns that work by stacking the ammo in a barrel and shooting it off via electrical impulses. The result, a robot that can shoot little 40mm grenades at you at a rate of 4,000 a second. According to Irobot, warriors were engineered with advanced software, giving them the ability to perform some battlefield functions autonomously. This highly configurable robot also provides developers with a versatile, reliable, and expandable platform. Warrior is able to carry heavy payloads, travel over rough terrain, and climb stairs in all weather conditions. In general, he has been designed to meet the demands of many dangerous situations, including bomb disposals. It's like a hero on wheels. So what's next? Fully armed droid soldiers? Number 3. Rods from God. What if a military could send a large object into space, have it orbit the planet, and then, whenever necessary, blast it back onto the surface at speeds that would give the impact the power of a nuclear bomb, but without all that nasty radiation, turning our enemies into a crater? That's what a kinetic bombardment, or commonly known as rods from gods, would do. The idea was dreamed up back in the 1950s by science fiction writer and space weapons expert Jerry Pournelle, according to the New York Times. He called the system Thor, and it consisted of a hypothetical destruction of huge land masses via giant metal rods that would be dropped from the Earth's orbit. The destructive force would come from the kinetic energy of the rods, gaining velocity as they fall and impacting the ground at very high speeds. And how would it work? The so-called Rods from God system would have 2 satellites placed in orbit, one to control communications and targeting, and the other containing the rods. Then Satellite 1 would instruct Satellite 2 to drop 1 or more rods whenever it would be commanded to. When released, nothing but gravity and a little remote guidance is needed to bring them down on the target. The guided rods would fall at a speed of over 36,000 feet per second. This means that a rod can easily hit a city with the same explosive power as an intercontinental ballistic missile, causing catastrophic damage both on and under the surface. In 2002, the respected military strategy think tank RAND conducted a nearly 200-page study on space weapons that in part took an in-depth look at the rods from God concept. According to the study, this weapon might be particularly interesting against targets anywhere in the world. Although the idea is relatively simple, literally hurling a chunk of metal from space into the Earth's surface, many factors led to the eventual abandoning of the project. Among some reasons, we can find the problem of money. These kinds of projects are really expensive, ranging from $24 to $230 million. Another factor is politics, as nobody likes the idea of unstoppable weapons hanging over their heads. However, there's a reason people keep coming back to the Rods of God concept, and that's because the fact that dominance in space gives anyone the possibility to threaten any part of the Earth from the cosmos. It's a new holy grail in military and geopolitical strategy. Number 2. Exploding flying saucers. Have you ever heard about robotic frisbees? No, these aren't any sort of toy, but a vehicle that can provide revolutionary tactical access and lethality against hostiles hiding in upper-story locations and/or defilated behind obstacles. The American Air Force thinks they might be perfect to urban combat environments. Developed by the company Triton Systems, the circular drones are fired from a device like a skeet launcher, and once in the air, they'll be teleoperated by soldiers on the ground. Or, if needed, the fighting frisbees will pilot themselves as they hunt for guerrillas. When near the enemy, the drone detonates. Its MEFP warhead, multiple explosively formed penetrator, will spray the area with armor-piercing shrapnel to shred infantry or, alternatively, form a single targeted explosion to destroy heavy vehicles or perform demolition work. But Triton's frisbee concept isn't the only one. From 1992 to 1998, the Navy experimented with a set of unmanned 250-pound, 6-foot diameter flying saucers. Furthermore, in 2002, Norwegian researchers showed off plans for a circular flying robot inspired partly by the design of Star Trek's USS Enterprise. Just imagine this thing in action. Do you really think humanity is improving? Number 1. Military unmanned vehicles. For those who think mini UFOs are secret military aircraft used by either the US or a foreign power, I'm glad or worried to tell you that you all are right. the US Navy may have confirmed your suspicions and the reality may be scarier than alien UFOs. Brett Tingley, a former Mysterious Universe contributor, revealed some information about Nemesis, the sinister acronym for Netted Emulation of Multi-Element Signature Against Integrated Sensors, the Navy's so-called electronic warfare ecosystem. From publicly available but obscure documents we've collected, it's clear that, for years, the Navy have been developing and integrating multiple types of unmanned vehicles, shipboard and submarine systems, countermeasures and electronic warfare payloads, and communication technologies to give it the ability to project what is, in essence, phantom fleets of aircrafts, ships, and submarines. Nemesis gives the Navy the ability to simultaneously fool a vast array of enemy sensors spread out over a large area, giving the illusion of ghost fleets of vessels on and below the surface of the ocean and formations of aircraft in the sky. The shadowy system achieves this via networking a vast array of disparate electronic warfare platforms and decoys together, including various swarms of unmanned aircraft and vessels, to create high-fidelity and unified electronic warfare effects across a battlefield. However, it is admitted that there is little detailed data about Nemesis. So sorry, UFO believers, we want to believe too, but maybe it's time to believe in the probability of electronic weapons creating impossible distractions. One more time, reality overcomes fiction. It is supposed that all these inventions are created to preserve and guarantee our security, but do you think these weapons would fulfill their purpose? Apart from these interesting weapons, there are many others which you won't believe they actually exist. Would you like to know them? Take a look at this video.